for 10 years. He's now the project manager at Akira's Cambodia Landmine Museum, and his wife Jill teaches English at the museum school and runs its volunteer program.
In Swahili, that means grandfather. In Cambodian, that means big monkey. Most of you can figure that out. My name is Bill. I'm from the United States. And I'm here today to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story about a young boy who grew up in the United States and wanted to become a soldier. I want to tell you the story about a young boy who was born in Cambodia and did become a soldier as a child. Those two people met, and it changed both their lives. I was born in California. I think there's somebody here who's from California, one of the guys on the staff. I was born in California. I wanted to be a soldier. I studied for 5 years in university to become a soldier. And when I became a soldier, the war was over. While becoming a soldier, I talked to people who had been at war, and I became opposed to the war. I was what they call an anti-war activist in the United States. I'm one of those people who marched in the streets and was opposed to the war. I'm talking about the Vietnam War, not my war. I was opposed to the war. I became a teacher. I became a businessman. And in 2003, I was working in Los Angeles, and I met a guy who asked me for $100. He said, I want to buy a mine detector for Akira. And I looked at him and said, what's an Akira? He said, Akira is a man in Cambodia who clears landmines by hand with a pair of pliers. And he cares for a bunch of wounded kids. And I was cynical. I looked at him and said, what's the scam? What's in it for him? And he said, nothing. Nothing's in it for him. I read his story, watched some documentaries on the man, and I came to Cambodia to find him in 2003. He had a small museum down near the entrance to Angkor Wat. It was a collection of old houses. He had been a child soldier. He had been stolen from his family when he was 5 years old, when a group called the Khmer Rouge took over Cambodia and ran it for 3 years, 8 months, and 20 days. Under their rule, 1,700,000 people died. They broke up the families. They sent the parents to work in the field, and they raised the children in small children's villages. At the age of 10, the army came into his village. They took an AK-47 rifle and they stood it up on the ground. If you're as tall as the rifle, you became a soldier. He became a soldier at 10, and he fought for the Cambodian army. He fought for the Khmer Rouge. In 1979, the Vietnamese army invaded Cambodia and they overthrew the Khmer Rouge. He was captured by the Vietnamese army and he fought with them. The Vietnamese army left Cambodia in 1989. He fought with the Cambodian army. In the early 1990s, the United Nations came to Cambodia, and he went to work for them clearing landmines. He found out he was good at it, and he went back to the fields where he had worked as a child, laying landmines, and he began digging up what he had put in the ground. He began helping people who were injured. While he was clearing these landmines, he found children, much like he had been, but they had been wounded by landmines. They'd lost a leg, they had lost an arm, they'd lost an eye. Sometimes they'd lost all three, or two of the three. He took them home, and he and his wife began raising them alongside their own children. He cleared 10,000 landmines. In 10 years, he cleared 50,000 landmines in Cambodia. And some of that stuff he brought back to his house. He made it safe, he brought it there. The tourists heard about this crazy Cambodian man with a house full of landmines, and they came to see him. He charged them $1, and he used that money to clear more landmines. I came to Cambodia in 2003 looking for this guy. I never met anybody who actually, in English we say, you talk the talk and you walk the walk. I'd never met anybody who actually did what he said he was going to do. A lot of people talk about stuff, not many people carry through and do it. I found this man living in his place, and I asked him how much it cost to clear landmines for a month, and he said $500. I was a businessman in America, and I said, you know what, I can do that. I raised $1,000 from the people I was traveling with. I gave it to him, and I said, I'm going to go home and start a charity to support your work. And he looked at me and said, thank you, and rolled his eyes. He said, yeah, you've heard this story before. He said, many people make promises, but you go home and people go home and they have a life and they have a family and they have a job, they go to school, and they forget about us over here. He said, we're not going to do that. I had been opposed to this war in 1975. When wars are over, soldiers go home. Landmines don't. We had as many as 6,000 injuries every year in Cambodia from landmines. Last year we had 38. So we're only blowing someone up here about every 8 days in Cambodia now. Way, way too many. But it is getting better, a lot better. I started a charity to support his work in 2007. I came over here to help him get licensed by the government and to do this to international standards so that he could get money from around the world and start a bigger organization. I came for 6 weeks and was here for 2 years. My wife was a school teacher. She came over here and said, did you ever think about moving to Cambodia? I said, yeah, I think about it every day. Never had the nerve to bring it up. She said, you know, I can teach school anywhere. So she quit her teaching job. We locked up our house. Many of you left home to come here. You lock the door, you have the sheets on the bed and the dishes in the cupboards. That's what we did. We put our little dog on a plane with us and we came here for 2 years. That was 9 years ago. Today we live in Cambodia. 4 years ago we went home, we sold our house, and we work here full time with APAF. I am the project manager at his landmine museum. We are open to the public and we raise money from tourists. We tell them the story about landmines in Cambodia, and we use that money to care for 32 children who live at the Landmine Museum. Thank goodness none of them are landmine victims anymore. Most of them are poor kids from remote villages. When they finish school, they get a university scholarship. We have built 21 schools throughout Cambodia for kids who have no access to education. Our demining team has cleared 145 minefields. We've cleared 10,000 landmines. We've put 34,000 people back on land they couldn't use. We've started 5 bomb squads. All this is done with the help of people like you from around the world. Peace isn't something that governments create. Peace is something that you and I create every day. The future of the world, the landmines in Cambodia, they're not going to be cleared by me. The landmines in Vietnam are not going to be cleared by the people clearing the landmines today, or by the Vietnamese government, or the American government, or the Canadian government who gives a lot of money, or the Polish government, or other governments. The problems in the world today are going to be solved by you. It is your responsibility to do that. And your responsibility begins every day, every minute, every action you take. We choose the world in which we want to live by the actions that we take every day. So every time you do something, you are creating a different world. We can change the world, and the people who are really going to change it is going to be you. Today, Akiwa is still clearing landmines. My wife and I are working here in Cambodia to make this country a safer place for everyone. Are we going to clear all the landmines in Cambodia in my lifetime? Probably not. These things last for a long time. As I said, when the war ends, soldiers go home, landmines don't. In my own country, in the United States, someone found a landmine 2 years ago. He put it in his truck and went home and Googled it. Y'all know what Google is? Yeah, I think so. He Googled it and found out it was a landmine buried by the Confederate Army in the American Civil War in 1863, and it still works. So stuff lays here for a long time, and it's only going to be eliminated. They're only going to be cleared here when we all around the world decide to pitch in. If you're religious, if you believe in a supreme being, we refer to that supreme being as our father, as our mother. If you're not religious, we refer to the earth as Mother Earth. That makes you my brothers. It makes you my sisters. And I am your brother. And if your brother falls, you reach out and give him your hand and help him. That's what peace is all about. And I hope when you leave here, you can get a chance to talk to each other, and you'll realize that none of us are very different from each other. We may speak a different language, we may dress a little differently, we may wear our hair a little bit different. Some of you, well, none of you are as old as I am, but you will all get to be as old as I am, I hope. You are going to make the difference here in the world today, and that's the message I want to give to you. The message that Akira gave to me, and the message that I try to spread to the people that I talk to. It begins with us, and it begins with us every day. So thank you very much.